Hey everyone, welcome back. Pretty cool video today as for the first time, everybody was actually inside the hex quarters. So at certain point in times, you can see like Dashy is sitting to Scump's right, so you can see them on the same screen when the home series actually begin. And I'm not sure about the majors once it gets down the line, but when the home series begins, they all have to be playing out of the same place. So it's good that they're now getting into the routine of playing together at the hex quarters, all in the same environment, because those are the things that eventually can end up affecting you a little bit. So the scrim that we're going to be watching today, they are playing the Minnesota ROKKR. And now I just kind of want to preface this by saying I'm not sure if OpTic is playing much better than I kind of have been expecting them to play as of late, or if Minnesota is just not coming along the way that I expected them to. I do really have Minnesota in that 4, 5, 6, 7 range, along with the Subliners and LA Thieves and Florida. I think all those teams are kind of bunched right together there in the middle. But when it comes to this scrim overall, there weren't really any maps that were really close. So on Crossroads, the very first map, OpTic actually ended up taking that map, which is something that they don't really do very often. They won that 250 to 200. After that, Garrison, pretty run of the mill. They won that 250 to 165. Again, if you're an OpTic fan, a really good sign for them is on the next map on Checkmate. They were able to win that 250 to 125, and it feels like 3 or 4 scrims in a row I've kind of been saying this is a map in Checkmate that they're really not that great at, and they're starting to win this. And the way that that's going to benefit them is I really don't think that they can win Crossroads against teams like Dallas and Atlanta and teams with really good SMGs. So if they weren't good at Checkmate, then they have to veto Crossroads, so then they probably end up being forced to play Checkmate. And now they're starting to come along a little bit on Checkmate, so that's a pretty good sign. Next map after that was Moscow, that they won 250 to 200, and right now we're watching Raid. So they ended up winning this also. They ended up taking all 5 of the Hardpoints. Again, pretty run-of-the-mill. And if you're looking at the score right now, it's actually pretty close. So Minnesota did a nice job of getting time inside of P1. Once it rotated towards P2, as SCUMP kind of goes off right there. Once it rotated towards P2, Minnesota was able to push that from the top, get a team kill, and get time inside of there. Also, we're rotating towards P3, and Minnesota set up inside of P3. SCUMP's kind of just going off. He's pretty excited if you can't tell. But up until this point, it's been a pretty competitive map. I think Minnesota kind of just falls apart here. So inside of P3, there's 35 seconds left. If you're OpTic, really all you have to do is just make one more stand. If you kill 2 or 3 as Minnesota's trying to push, as SCUMP gets 1, SCUMP gets 2. He's now on some sort of spree. I didn't catch it, but he's definitely on at least a 4 spree. Not sure what that was towards the end there, but as we're watching this, the last 13 seconds or so are going to end up going towards Minnesota. It's going to be an 85 to 60-ish ball game. Minnesota is not going to have rotations. They're not top jungle as it rotates over towards basketball courts. And I think this is probably where it's going to start to fall apart here. So really all OpTic has to do is just get 1 kill on whoever's inside. Looks like that was Major Maniac inside. And now they have spawns. It's extremely tough. As you see, Formal sitting up top there at half wall with the Craig. But it's near impossible to break P4 from the bottom of the map. You can hide inside money. You can hide inside half wall. Once you're inside, there's really only 1 choke point that they can run through. So it's really easy to block that off. And from here, once they get the last 20 seconds, now normally the team that doesn't have spawns for P4 usually does a pretty decent job inside of P5 because you know where they're going to be coming from, right? They either have to run from bottom pool or they have to run through kitchen. So if you're not the team that has control of P4, you can just block those 2 chokes and you can get a decent amount of time inside of P5, and that wasn't successful either. Just to pause this and bring up the minimap for the very first time today, just to kind of show you what I was talking about. Right now, we were inside of P4. So as OpTic leaves P4 to get to P5, they either have to run mid-stairs, or they could run money right here, then get through this choke point. But still, there's really only 2 choke points, right? Because there's no way that they're going to push all the way over towards P3 and hit zigzag and come this way. That's just not going to happen. They could run up here towards jungle, but then if you hit towards P2, you're still coming through the same way. You could make the long flank, especially if you have about a 70-point lead, which they have right now, and you could hit over towards P1 here and hit right here through these, but again, that's taking so much more time. So normally, if you're the team that doesn't have spawns for P4, you kind of just get set up inside of P5. You have somebody watching this choke. You could even push somebody up inside of P2. You could have somebody blinders right here watching this choke. So normally it's pretty easy to stop that push towards P5 on the team that had control of P4. It just didn't end up working out that way for Minnesota, and it's slowly but surely kind of getting away from them, right? They got all the time inside of P4. They got the majority of the time inside of P3. They're getting all this time inside of P5, whereas normally P5 is just a contested hardpoint. But we're about at that point where it's a little bit over halfway through. So let's go ahead. Let's turn up the team comms. Let's hear exactly what OpTic is talking about as we're about to rotate here towards the second set of rotations.
Time dead. Hold this guy. Hurt. Court spawns. Back laundry, Lamar. Outskirt already hitting it. Other one top laundry.
Top laundry, guys. Top laundry.
Top laundry.
Outskirts.
One shot front kitchen. He's front left.
He's pushing up our side. Must be laundry too. I'm staying on there. One laundry. Could be top laundry.
Yo, one's water. Dylan's water.
Major water.
Yo, Dylan's in money.
Yeah, there's 20 court, guys. 20 court. One's deep jungle. I flashed him, Dylan. Mating him.
Guys got the sprints, yo.
I have my top.
I'm in kitchen.
One top. Could be outskirts. Outskirts on you. Yeah, he's front on me.
Yo, I flipped him, I'm pretty sure.
This really is just completely dominant. So inside of P1, not only did OpTic get all of that time, but SCUMP was able to stop them running through kitchen right here inside of P2. And as they were inside of P1, oh my, SCUMP is frying. Dude's going off. But as they were inside of P1, they also pushed up towards laundry. So they were slowly but surely gaining that map control. And now the last 14 seconds here inside of P1 are going to end up going the way of OpTic, as SCUMP is just going off. He should be dying in all of these scenarios. I don't know if host has something to do with it, because they are all playing out of the same location in the hex quarters, but they obviously are just going off here. Let's listen to the finish here.
One more pillars.
Jump set. Just keep being a nuisance.
The back of me, two in the back.
I'll put back.
One in the back, major. One to the back. Back door, close back door.
No, they got me front.
Stairs that I'm going to pull.
Full guys.
I just streak front. They gotta hit it.
Pillars.
And again, if you have somebody that goes on a streak, that's going to give you a massive advantage, as they all had to run through the front. SCUMP had his streak, so he went and he called it in. 30 and 11 for SCUMP. I think Dashy also had pretty nasty numbers right there. I didn't see exactly what it was, but SCUMP ended up going off. Let's see if we can see it right here towards the end. Before the map's over, he runs through it. He's 29 and 11. And no, he's 30 and 11. We didn't get to see what Dashy was, but really good map out of him. Dashy's been frying as of late. As if we look across over here, the greatest score from Minnesota was 1,300. So really not a great map out of them, but it is what it is, right? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you have good days. Sometimes you have bad days. I would have liked to have seen Minnesota take a map or two off of Chicago. I don't know. Again, although I will say, last time we saw these two teams scrim, the outcome was pretty similar. I think OpTic won the last one 3-2, and the maps that they lost were super close. So who knows? We're going to find out here. We have kickoff weekend coming up in just a few days. And then a few weeks after that, we have the Atlanta home series. So it's almost go time. I cannot wait. I can't wait for these things to get started. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I break down videos like this every single day of the CBL season. Leave a like if you don't mind, as it really helps out the channel. And with that, thank you guys so much. We'll see you in tomorrow's upload.